consideration of taking care of the conservancies and the conservation areas, such as the parks around them. They have now come up with some mitigation measures to be able to continue conserving these areas. And one of the strategy they are now applying is they have decided to be grazing their livestock during the night. This is to reduce the conflict between the tourism sector and them, and the wildlife as well. But at the same time, that has now created again a correlation between the Ma people themselves and their livestock together with the wild animals. Hello? Okay. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Dr. Masabe. Please continue.
Okay. Yeah. I think there are some people who are talking behind the scenes. I think they were not aware. So I was saying they have come now with that strategy. So the strategy has created a very positive correlation between the animals, the wild animals, and the livestock, and again the people themselves. For example, you can't imagine, it is not easy for people to think that it is easy to graze the livestock in their parks during the night, regardless of whether it is dark nights or whether there is moonlight or not. What has come to be very clear is that that possibility is really being realized within these communities. And the wild animals, the prey, the carnivores, who usually depend on the on meat to live, are aware that their livestock belongs to people and not them. It is very rare to get a lion attacking livestock because they are grazing in their park and it is dark, and maybe even the people who are taking the youth who are looking after them are either 2 or 3, and they are guarding or they are grazing their livestock, the cows, like 300 to 500 cows. That is impossible if you try to think in the normal life. But that has come out very well. And the same livestock, the whole day, that's daytime, they have now adapted, they have known the trend that it is not daytime, is not the grazing time. So they rest in the entire day. The entire day. Some people are not aware of this, but it is really happening. And because of that, they are storing a lot of energy and a lot of fat. So they are easily getting fattened. So in return, the Maasai people are now getting quick money from the livestock because of the nutrient. It is unbelievable, but it's now becoming a reality. That is one way the youth are now coming. They are using their new ways of life to create a positive climate change. Then the second one is they have now come again with new solutions. They have created and they have all agreed through the Council of Elders that it is not allowed for anyone to pollute water. One way of polluting water is getting a bath in a river and you are using soap. So it is not acceptable. What are they doing? Or what is the strategy to deter people from doing that or from polluting water points? They have now incorporated the same, a new measure, cultural measure, practice that it is a bad omen for any one of us to pollute waters, because you don't know who will come to use that water, whether it is a small dam, whether it is a flowing river, whether it is any form of water, any source. It is not allowed for you to bath and to use soap at the water sources. And that has really come very well. For those people who are residing along the Mara and the Serengeti on the other side, if you happen to have visited the Ngorongoro on the Tanzania side, and now along the Mara, it is very rare for you to get any polythene paper as an indication of someone have used soap. It is now all the sources, all the water sources are now clean. They are really coming up very well, and that is now appreciated by the community. Something else has again, they have also come up with a new strategy again on the need to create now from the individual parcels of land. They have now agreed to come up with their own as community conservation areas, what is commonly known as conservancies. In Mara, along the outskirts, the other side. But now, as we speak now, we have now new conservancies far away from the parks. For example, we have now the Suswa. The Suswa conservancy is coming up. We have another conservancy which is coming up next to Narosra on your way to Ngutoto. Although it is a new one, but it is coming up. We have the Olderkesi conservancy. It is now well established. It is now existing and it is now running. Siana, and then all the others on the other end, on the other side of the Serengeti. So because of that, they came up with this idea that our conservancies, let our conservancies help us to rear our livestock, and then at the same time, let our conservancies become the habitats of our wild animals. That has now broken the problem of a population of the wild animals in their parks. And as a result, many tourists are now even opting, they are now going for conservancies because of the cheaper costs, the cheaper prices or entry fees, compared to when you visit the Mara or when you visit the Serengeti. So that is another strategy. That is another strategy. And then again, finally, because I want to, maybe how many minutes do I still have? Kindly help me in that.
So that the allocated time was 20 minutes, so you still have some minutes, yeah, 10 more minutes.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So there's this other new strategy of the Maasai now have now opted. They have come to know that they are very rich in herbal medicine, the traditional herbal medicine. So they have now come up now in identifying specifically which plant treats what. And they are now encouraging many youth in doing that business as a new way of getting money. It is not necessarily for you to do in the other normal ways of doing business. So now that has now come, is now coming into practice, and it is because of the effectiveness of this traditional medicine. The only challenge they have is that many of them are not able to register these plans because they don't know where to do that, and also they don't have maybe some laboratories to prove on the ingredients of these herbs, though it is also a safer way of protecting even these plants from other external people from getting them. It is two-way traffic now. It is helping them. It is disadvantaging them for not having.
Please, can you call him? Tell him I have something by 5. I'm already in this meeting. Hey,
yeah, kindly can. Oh, did she muted or can I continue?
Yes, you can continue. I think she realized and muted us.
Okay, so traditional medicine is now getting some space in our Maasai markets. If it is now rare for you, it is very hard for you to not to see at least a number of people selling some herbs in the markets. And many people who are using them are really now shifting their way of life in the usage of these herbs. So I was saying something to do with the protection of these plants. They don't know, and that is the biggest challenge they have. So if something can be done, maybe in the near future, to at least help them be able to identify what is very effective and something that can easily be commercialized outside the markets, then they can easily be they should be helped to protect. That is another way. So another change. There is also something that has come. We have a new trend that is coming up. Many Maasai youth, more especially those who have completed universities and those who are still students at the universities, they are now coming up with cultural apps as a way of maybe creating awareness on why the communities should conserve environments, why they should do ABCD. So because of that, there is now an increase of knowledge which was not there. The new space is now available. And that created some dynamic in matters planetary health, because at least they have said, it has been said that information is power. So for those people who are lacking some information, at least because of the new apps which are now coming up from our youth are bringing out and doing, they are really, that is really creating some hubs of information. The same is now earning them. But it is a new. So there are now what we call champions. These are kids and villages, conservation champions. So they create groups, they communicate.
Dr. Masago, we are losing you.
What they feel like the environment. For example, identify some. Are you getting me now? Are you getting me now?
We lost you for some few seconds.
Oh, but, okay. Let me go back. Let me go back a bit again. Our youth forming what is community conservation champions. Community conservation champions. These groups, they monitor their environments. If it is something that is in a certain town or center, they communicate through the same groups, and then they say, we have identified center A or B. There is a lot of litter. We are planning a day for us to do the cleanup. That is really a positive innovation. To us, we are seeing it as very positive. Number one. Number two, if they identify there is a gully erosion of either a road or gully somewhere, they let us go on that A or B and feel the gullies to take place. And they are doing that. That is really a positive measure. And I am telling you, if these youth can only get some positive accommodation, they can easily be motivated and they can do a lot. So thank you very much. Maybe I don't know whether I still do I still have like 2 minutes to say just something?
Yes. You still have 3 minutes.
Still have? Oh, am I lost?
You have been breaking.
Okay. Are you now getting me, please?
Yeah, we can get you. So I'm thinking maybe if you're using your phone and receiving some calls, they might be the reason why you keep on breaking.
Well, yeah, I am using the phone, yes, but the fact is, it is not the calls. I have made sure that I am just purely on WhatsApp, so I have the normal calls are not coming through. So what I will say is there is something I want just to say. There is a new trend that our youth have also come up. There are these plants or trees which the community uses majorly in the cultural practices, but because of maybe severe climate changes taking place, the plants or those trees are almost getting extinct. So this is a new trend that has come up. They have now resolved that if it is like, for example, olive is the one which is almost getting extinct. What they are doing, they come up in the community barazas and then they label them. They label such trees or such plants. They say those plants it is now abandonment for anyone to use for a period of 10 years or 15 years. And that is now going on very well. Very well. For example, we have the Lesotho. At Lesotho, we have the Columbus, the red-headed Columbus monkeys. Initially, some time back, culturally they were used to mark very high-level cultural events. So many people were killing these Columbus monkeys, and because of that, they were almost getting extinct. But I remember very well because we had to count them in a forest in Lesotho sublocation. We had to count them, that physical counting, 1, 2, 3, and we only had 32 of them remaining in the entire forest. What did the community do? The community came up with that strategy. They said no one should ever, at any time, kill any Columbus monkeys for a period of 15 years. And then they imposed some cultural norms that anyone who does who does the killing of a Columbus monkey, bad omen will befall their families. And up to now, this is the 7th year. Last year, 2024, we went back and we did physical counting, and we found that the Columbus monkeys who are at that forest are 93 from 32. That is a very good, a very positive practice. It is cultural, yes, but it is working. So that is the reason why I'm saying, and I strongly encourage every one of us to think on how best we can utilize our youth in climate change. They are very effective. They can easily be motivated. They can cause a lot of change. So thank you very much, members. Have a very blessed time. Maybe if I get some, if anyone has a question, you can kindly ask me before I exit.
Thank you, Dr. Masago. Are you wanting to exit right now, or
No,
maybe
not.
you have?
I don't mean exiting. Exiting from the meeting. I mean to from. I want to give someone else their time. But I'm not exiting. In fact, I'm not.
Okay. Thank you so much for your presentation. And colleagues, I want to communicate that the chat box is open and feel free to keep engaging in the chat box. And also, if you have any question from the presentation made by Dr. Jackson, please note it down, or maybe you can post it on the chats, and then we can reflect on it or allow Jackson to shed some light on it once we open the plenary. So now I want to take this chance to move on to the next panelist, who is Clive Donnelly. So Clive Donnelly is a climate policy advisor, closely working with the UNEP as a global coordinator for the Children and Youth Major Group. So Clive will be talking about how youth can leverage on advocacy, policy advocacy specifically to address the triple planetary crisis. So Clive here will be talking about his personal experience at UNEP, specifically on the major group for children and youth, and policy advocacy, which has majorly revolved around coordinating the CYMG, which is the Children and Youth Major Group. Clive will also provide some examples of some successful initiatives or campaigns that the youth have led successively to influence policy positively. He will also talk about the strategies for effective advocacy as a tool for youth to leverage on to address the triple planetary crisis. He will also talk about the opportunities that there are, or opportunities that the youth can take to take forward, addressing the issue of triple planetary crisis. So at this juncture, I want to open the floor for Clive. So Clive, take it away.
Thank you so much, Benson, for welcoming me to this session. And also, thank you for this convening and also bring various young people and also various people from various organizations to be part of this engagement, which comes at a very critical moment to try to expedite efforts to tackle the triple planetary crisis within our own perspectives and also within our own organization engagement. So as been introduced, my name is Clive Donnelly, Global Coordinator for the Children and Youth Major Group to UNEP, and I'm also Climate Policy Advisor to the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation Initiative. So at UNEP works to tackle the triple planetary crisis which is climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. And all these three triple planetary crises, they have wreaked havoc within our communities. And when it comes to climate change, we see that Africa is one of the continents, which is in part in the global south, that has been hugely affected, whereby you see communities are hugely devastated by impacts of climate change. So as focusing specifically for children and youth, you find that, for example, young women and girls in many communities, they are devastated by impacts of climate change as they assume the primary role in assuming the primary role, for example, getting water, which is a resource that is hugely been impacted by impacts of climate change. But again, as we face climate change, we have a bigger window to avert this crisis. And in my experience as part of the Children and Youth Media Group, UNEP has been leading various actions or various initiatives that help in tackling the triple planetary crisis. UNEP has got various initiatives that help young people to leverage their insights and inputs in shaping the policy coherence, while also providing a wider avenue for policy discussion and also showcasing various activities that helps in tackling the planetary crisis. So Children and Youth Media Group to UNEP is a formal engagement mechanisms whereby it involves various engagement within UNEP-centered approaches. For example, through the Children and Youth Media Group, young people can be able to center their inputs and interventions into global discussions. For instance, the UN Environment Assembly, whereby the UN Environment Assembly is the highest decision-making organ in tackling environmental challenges. And Children and Youth Media Group to UNEP has got a window to allow young people to come into the environment policy, discuss with various member states and ambassadors, experts, in pushing in for the interventions that we feel should be added into these high-level discussions and resolutions in terms of tackling the triple planetary crisis. One of the key strategic areas that Children and Youth Media Group has shared its prominence is through the Global Youth Environmental Assembly. Well, through the Global Youth Environmental Assembly, we are during the UN Environmental Assembly, which happens after every 2 years, we've been able to conduct the Environment Assembly, bringing young people from various backgrounds, different countries, bringing in their policy inputs. And the outcome of the Global Youth Environment Assembly will always come up with the Global Youth Declaration, whereby the Global Youth Declaration tackles the key priority areas for young people, children and youth over various parts of the world. And this declaration has been, this declaration was able to be recommended even to the high-level political forum in New York, whereby you find that the policy inputs that children and youth have supplied into this international global negotiations, you find that most of those inputs were able to be incorporated into various outcomes of the negotiations. And this is just one of the ways that we influence policy. So as Children and Youth Media Group, we have various working groups that we help in helping young people with expertise and also with those with no expertise to learn how the international framework works. For example, reflecting our work into the tackling pollution, we have chemical and pollution working group, whereby we come up with various initiatives. Young people can be able to showcase their activities, how they are tackling pollution within their localities, whether it be tackling waste pollution, air pollution, or even chemical pollution. And as we know that United Nations Environment Program has got various initiatives that have been able to showcase tangible outcome, and just to show that multilateralism still is the center of heart of decision making, and it works. For instance, a few years ago, we were being told that the ozone layer was in a critical danger. But through the efforts that have been put forward into the multilateral negotiations, right now, scientists say that the ozone layer is on a path to full recovery. And this is just one of the key outcomes that we feel in the power of advocacy and also in the power of multilateralism that can bring more informed decision making into leveraging towards tangible outcome. So when reflecting on how we've been working and how our work filters into policy work and how young people can take part into the policy and advocacy work, you find that today in our current world, you find that many governments have put very restrictive measures whereby young people are unable to air their views, or young people are unable to bring henceforward issues of concern into environment and also into other areas like democracy. And we know that when it comes to environmental issues, this is just one of the greatest area that it is also filtered into our own democracy and even international humanitarian law and international human rights. Issues of environmental governance are supposed to be put forward, and when they are violated, we all need to rise up and speak about it. And one notable example is today we've seen there are a lot of youth movements which help in mobilizing young people to advocate for stronger climate policies. And these movements, they have successfully influenced national governments to adopt more ambitious environmental targets that has been instrumental into integrating youth perspective into climate negotiations. And UNEP specifically has got also an initiative called Young Champions for Earth. And Young Champions for Earth is a program that brings together young innovators for the environment to address environmental challenges, and they demonstrate how their activities or actions are impacting our world positively in terms of bringing new innovative solutions. Because through this initiative, UNEP also aims to empower young people. Apart from just giving them a platform to be part of the decision making, it also gives up an avenue to help in leveraging into their own innovative solutions. Another key area of engagement has been into science policy, which is really, really important in tackling the triple priority crisis. UNEP has got its own science policy interface and strategy for the effective policy. And through this, youths have been advocating to leverage informal engagement through utilizing data-driven arguments to influence policy outcomes. And through the previous UN Environment Assembly, we were able to convene children and youth were able to convene youth sitting with the Office of the Chief Scientist to discuss how policy can inform decision making on environment, mostly in tackling climate change. And we're still into conversation how children and youth can have an ad hoc working group with the Office of Chief Scientist to facilitate continuous supply of informative solutions into this ad hoc working group on science policy. We also have various outcomes, just reflecting on one of the questions that I was to answer. When it comes to actionable solutions, you find that we've been able to integrate tangible outcomes. For instance, through advocacy last year into the United Nations Convention to combat desertification. For the first time, there was an avenue to recognize Indigenous People Youth Caucus, whereby you find that Indigenous knowledge and bring forward insights on environmental stewardship, the role that Indigenous people play has been also put forward. And this is something that has always been left out into various decision-making avenues. And yeah, so the Indigenous People Caucus was able to recognize the importance of Indigenous people in Indigenous knowledge, how they can supply their indigenous knowledge into global environmental decision making, so that we can all ensure that we are developing and implementing sustainable solutions and leveraging on the common agenda of leaving no one behind. The United Nations Convention on Biological Biodiversity, over the past 30 years of existence, the last negotiation body in Colombia was able to also come with a subsidiary body for indigenous people, and we will begin to see actions within the subsidiary body from this year, next year, moving forward, whereby now indigenous people are officially recognized into the convention, and through the subsidiary body, we are hoping to continue seeing a continuous effort of the indigenous people, the indigenous role that they bring into the decision making organ. And when it comes to call to action, I want to encourage young people. That's the role that young people play, children and youth play into environmental decision making is very critical, because young people are the ones who are going to inherit the world in the future, and we're already on the path to the future. But no, we see that we are still in a very difficult trajectory of climate change. The environmental impacts are being amplified further. Every day, science is telling us that we are still on a wrong path to avert impacts of climate change. But young people are already in the arena of implementing innovative solutions to tackle the triple planetary crisis. And again, there's a big opportunity into leveraging on the involvement in tackling the triple planetary crises. We have an avenue to create more green jobs and opportunity for young people to involve in various programs. And Children and Youth Major Group, we are open to young people around the world to join us in the network and provide tangible inputs, tangible solutions on how the world should move forward, as we encourage more youthful participation. We have a platform whereby we can accelerate transformative environmental policy and perspective that that the future generations need to consider or to bring henceforth in the decision-making organ. And UNEP has continued to offer various platforms for you to engage in environmental advocacy and policy learning. For instance, we have programs like the Green Jobs for Youth Pact, which is an initiative that aims to increase demands for green jobs to help create a stronger supply for youth with necessary skills. And additionally, we have the Geo6 and Geo7, which provides resources to understand how member states and how member states can drive affordable market for sustainable production and for production and also sustainability in terms of accelerating more tangible solutions for our planet. So I hope that I have answered all the question, and in case there is any question or any inputs that I may have forgotten to share, please let me know. Thank you. I'll just check in the chat. Oh yeah, so thank you. So the Children and Youth Major Group, we have a way in which somebody can participate. So according to United Nations core principles and guidelines, a young person is described from the young age, or a youth from the young age till the age of 35. And the Children and Youth Major Group allows youth up to the age of 35 to participate in our programs and activities. And to join the Children and Youth Major Group, it is free. I can share the link afterwards, or I can share it in the chat, or the co-organizers of this forum can also share it. And we have various working groups that one person can engage in. For example, we have environmental policy, environmental law, chemical and waste, nature and ecosystem. And we have very many other avenues that anyone can engage in, provided that they meet the recommended threshold to participate and engage in the avenue. Yeah, thank you.
Thank
yes,
you.
Sandra
Okay.
has shared a question on One Health.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I pasted in the chat that I strongly believe in the role of
yes.
in this One Health climate and session. The only aspect that I want to raise to you is that obviously working, let's say,
actually, I think I don't know if it's my internet, sorry. I can't really hear you clearly, but I can see the question in the chat. Sandra is saying that I believe that the role of young people, youth is critical in One Health, planetary health, and climate discussions. What is an issue? What is an issue is eco-anxiety. So the colleague presents of the meeting, James, advocates for peace communication related to climate and health, might be a way forward. Yeah, this is actually one of the key areas that is of a concern to us as well. So we, as children and youth, we have also health working group, and we've been engaging into the tackling issues on One Health and planetary health. Also, mostly when it comes to challenges that are being imposed, for example, with zoonosis that are on the rise, and we've been engaging also into the WHO quadripartite working group, whereby young people are now beginning to also be part of this scientific decision-making avenue in tackling challenges within the health of our planet, and also leveraging on pre-existing scientific policies. For example, we leverage on horizon scanning, and last year UNEP was also able to come up with a scientific report on planetary health, and how we were engaging into that. We were able to provide inputs to the Office of the Chief Scientist, and these issues are still into the discussion moving forward. As of now, UNEP is implementing its next program of work, and through this program of work and medium-term strategy, some of these key issues have already been identified. For instance, as we all know, the issues of desertification as well has not gotten enough attention, and this is really important in terms of tackling the planetary health. And this is something that, you know, we've ensured that in the policy, this is something that has already been recommended, and it will be implemented in the next UN Environment Assembly this year in December. Before getting this position, I was also working as an activist, whereby I was also part of the Fridays for Future movement. And in my line of work, we find that sometimes we're trying to push for veritable solution to tackle, for leaders to take bolder solutions, but you find that we were being pushed behind. For instance, in my country, Kenya, we've seen that the government has been trying to previously put smoke screens even when you get organizing peaceful protests. And the issue of eco-anxiety among young people, mostly for those who are beginning their activism work, as well, has been very difficult. But once you begin engaging into avenues that, you know, you are working with like-minded individuals, and, you know, you're pushing for the same cause, sometimes it becomes easier to navigate the eco-anxiety, and just trying to stick on cause, and also working with other like-minded individuals. That also ensures that, you know, whatever you're doing is difficult, but also there's a way to have fun doing it. Yeah. Thank you. Benson, I'll pass it back to you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm not sure where Benson Matinde is, but thank you so much, Clive, for that presentation. It was impactful. Karibu, Benson.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Matinde, can you hear us?
Yes, I am back. I apologize for dropping for some few seconds there. But anyway, thank you so much, Clive, for your deep presentation. I particularly like the way you highlighted on the issues of planetary health and One Health. I know we were together at UNEP when we were reviewing the foresight report that highlighted these issues. And some key other issues that you have highlighted that I want to briefly just mention them for people who might have joined us in the past few minutes. Is one, you have shed some light on how traditional ecological wisdom or traditional, basically indigenous knowledge can be combined with the modern policy frameworks and give birth to sustainable solutions to the triple planetary crisis, giving a very good example of the UNCCD outcomes where there was formation of the Indigenous Peoples Caucus. Um, Also, sharing your experience, your personal experience on how youth engagement has really played a major role in shaping environmental policy and contributing to more resilient communities, at the grassroots level when policy trickles down. I also like how how you shed some light, how you shed some light on the role of the CYMG, the Children Youth Major Group, and how it supports, emerging youth advocates to build their capacity in their work in advocacy, specifically policy advocacy. So, Clive, before you go away, I had some few questions that I wanted you to maybe think through them as we open the plenary, and maybe as you take some few minutes before we welcome the previous speaker to also ask him some questions that might have risen within the past few minutes. So the first question is, what strategies would you say would prove or would be most effective in engaging policymakers and stakeholders in environmental policy or advocacy? The second question is maybe the steps that you would recommend for these young people looking to participate into policy dialogues or maybe policy advocacy. Yeah, I think those are the two questions that I wanted to pose to you. I had another question, but I just realized that you shed some light on it towards the end, whereby you mentioned about the specific opportunities that exist for the youth to build their skills within the UNEP CYMG network. So now, colleagues, I want to officially open the plenary by giving us a chance. If you are listening to us and maybe something came into your mind, or if you have any comment that you want to share with us, or maybe something that you want to target to the two panelists, please feel free to do so. Yeah, I see Aniedi Inyang, if I pronounce your name correctly. She has her hand raised, so please feel free to come in. The floor is yours, Aniedi.
Yeah, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Aniedi Inyang from Nigeria. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm actually running an NGO that has to do with youth advocacy and action, which involves climate change, mentoring, and empowerment of the youths. And though I have heard the presentation that it has to do with the youth of indigenous community around Kenya, I wanted to ask how we can key it into it from the Nigerian indigenous community, because I'm piloting a program that has to do with the Nigerian youth and the indigenous community, please. Hello?
Yes. Would you mind clarifying who you posted that question to, please? Or is it a general question?
It's a general question. Whoever can give me the directions, I'll appreciate.
Yeah, Clive, I think you are in a position to shed some light on that.
Yes, thank you. So before I share a response, I begin with the two questions that you have posed. The first one was how steps in participating on policy advocacy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so for example, policy landscape in this environmental decision making is very critical for young people to engage in various avenues. And the first actionable step is to research on what specific policy issues maybe particular youth, individual, or particular group wants to work on, and they need to have a greater context understanding of potential issues that they want to tackle and to provide a formidable decision on it. Knowing what type of decision makers you want to approach, the international decision makers or international bodies or local government, is also very critical to understand which kind of policy issues are trying to drive maybe to specific country climate change targets. And this helps in knowing how to identify the best opportunities to influence the policy. And as we know that in some countries, the avenue to provide feedback is shrinking, and the civil society space is also shrinking. We've seen in very many countries. And one of the key ideas is to knowledge building and expert knowledge building and exchange of ideal information in terms of coalition building. This can also help in personal educational or group education in terms of supporting policy advocacy into specific areas of work and building alliance. Also, I previously mentioned young people can join various coalitions. And another specific area to focus on is defining clear policy goals in terms of setting ambitious policy goals and aligning with various frameworks, country-specific frameworks in terms of tackling climate change. For instance, the NDCs or international frameworks like the Sendai framework, let's say on disaster reduction, or the SDGs. And now this will be able to help in formulating actionable proposals, in providing clear policy recommendations. And for instance, sometimes you find it's very difficult to reach out to marginalized communities, but we can also try to organize.
Sorry, I had interference with my network, so I didn't get you again.
Sorry. So I'm saying that defining clear policy goals is also very critical in this specific way, and also coming up with actionable proposals which are feasible, backed by data around the world, bridging the gap in specific area that you want to formulate policy on. And Matindi, Brian, and also Benson had also made an inquiry on how we can how indigenous youth can engage in police work. So, for instance, there's been previously we've seen that indigenous people and youths in marginalized areas have always been left out into environmental policy work, and despite of the critical role that they play. And we know that indigenous youth, by virtue of their cultural heritage, they are able to foster holistic approach into driving actionable solutions into sustainability. And just how we can come up with a strategy to effectively engage is we can harness the traditional ecological knowledge first, which is it can encompass various knowledge about the ecosystem, ways of sustainable land management. Now that conversation on the UNCD was more bigger on land and land tenure system, and one of the key ways to reinvigorate such is by reclaiming and documenting the traditional ecological knowledge, because the knowledge gap is already missing. If today you try to do some specific research on traditional and ecological knowledge, you'll find very few documents, or even in specific communities, you may not find that gap. Even in Africa, when you try to think about some communities, you may not be able to find the knowledge. So one of the ways is to reclaiming and documenting this traditional ecological knowledge in this era, and how we could map out and share this knowledge, how it can be important, and integrating the traditional ecological knowledge now into policy. We've seen that for example, UNEP has begun the Global Environmental Outlook and other platforms just to help in presenting indigenous wisdom, but this is not enough. We need to have more demonstration on how the traditional ecological knowledge can complement modern science in addressing the environmental degradation. Participating in the multilateral decision-making organs or avenues is also very important, regardless of how challenging it is to access them. But we can also leverage on country-specific avenues that are in place, and advocating for emerging issues. For instance, the issue of environmental governance, environmental law, issues on justice have always been neglected, mostly in the decision-making avenues. Or if you find in decision-making avenues, you find the text specifically on issues on environmental justice governance has always been watered down to an end that it loses meaning. So communities have also are able to come up to the civil society organization to push specific governments on how this kind of knowledge can be influenced into policy. And lastly, I can say that the indigenous knowledge, mostly when we focus on cultural heritage and protection and developing cultural sustainability programs, is also something that can really be impactful when it's leveraged on. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Clive. Thank you for that, Clive. Now I want to circle back, colleagues, to our first panelist, who was Dr. Jackson Masago, and I have some few questions for Dr. Masago. One question that I want to pose to him is that I want him to shed some light on how, or maybe his perception on how he sees indigenous knowledge complementing modern scientific approaches to create solutions for the triple planetary crisis. So, Dr. Jackson, if you can hear me, are you
I
still?
can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you very well. Yeah.
Okay,
And
let me ask.
okay.
There's another question. And maybe how can young people access, document, and integrate indigenous knowledge into community-led environmental initiatives and policy advocacy? So, Dr. Jackson, please feel free to come in and shed some light on that.
So you said, what did you say the first question? The first question was what?
Okay, the first question was your perception on how you see indigenous knowledge complementing the modern scientific approaches.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Yeah, so at the moment there is something that has we really appreciate, because it is now being appreciated. We have, for example, we have a few traditional medicine men who are now offering some traditional medicine treatment through traditional medicine. For example, we have a man, and one elderly man who resides in a place called Naekara, and this man has the knowledge to treat cancerous wounds using traditional medicine. And at the first time when that was said, and many people were trying to, many people wanted to prove whether it is true or not. That was not until when a number of people who he treated. Oh, yeah. Is that muted? Can I continue?
Yes, you can continue.
Yeah. So I am saying the about that man. The man is now having some knowledge, traditional knowledge, in treating cancerous wounds. And initially, some people were doubting. They were doubting that it might not be true. It was not until when Kenyatta Hospital doctors had to look for this man, and they wanted to give him an opportunity to treat some cancerous patients, and they were making some referrals to this man. And to our amazement, many of them are fully treated, 100% treated. And we have them. They are working, they are living in the community, and they have, it is evident by everyone. So that's one evident example that it is true. If there is a correlation between, if there is a collaboration between the modern scientists and the traditional medicine experts, something can come, something positive can happen. So that is the example I am giving. There are many in the community. There are many plants that are used for various diseases, either to control or to treat a number of diseases. And for sure, that has really proven to be more effective, even more than the medicines, the modern medicine. So many people are now opting, more especially from the community, they are opting to use herbal medicine, herbal plants, to either treat or to prevent, or maybe to give them some immunity. Because the goodness of these herbs, they can either help in immunity or treatment of the disease, or they can also prevent. They can also preventive. So that is a very positive realization, a very good observation that we made. And this thing is just real. We are seeing, we have even Tenyoke Hospital in Bomet. They have some people who they want to know how they are doing. how they are treating some diseases, because it is doable. It is being done in the local communities. So the second question was all about. Kindly remind me the second one.
Yes, the second question. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the second question was I wanted you to focus on how young people can maybe try and document this indigenous knowledge.
Oh, yes. And I have said that that is the biggest challenge we have. That's the biggest challenge we have, because most knowledge, most tradition, most of the traditional knowledge and skills, many people, they don't. It is like they don't know that it is it is another way of getting money. So most of them are contented, although we are now encouraging. Assessor is really encouraging in creating awareness that there is a possibility of getting some economic gains from maybe copyrights, intellectual properties, IPs, if they can only know. And then now it is also good. It is also good to know. It is also good for these people to know that it is also good for them to do the documentation. So what we are doing now as assessors, we want to come up with a wing to be doing the publications of any findings that are found to be relevant. Yeah. So we are really talking creating some awareness in the community level, and we are also reaching out to our universities around, and we want now to come up with a platform, an online platform, whereby all our students who come from these local communities can easily help us document whatever is found to be more valuable, more have some impact in either preventive or maybe treatment level, so that we see how best we can help our communities even in the future. Because once they are documented, even generations which will come in future will be able to access the same information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Masago. Now I want to open the plenary once again to our audience. Maybe if someone has a question, please feel free to maybe raise your hand. Yeah, Clive, you can come in.
Yes. There was just another question that was sent to me, but I didn't respond to it. It regards how young people can engage in the upcoming UNIA 7 and IP-based conversation. So for UNIA 7, currently, the theme for UNIA 7 has already been identified, which is advancing sustainable solutions for a resilient planet. And through this theme, currently, the process that is underway, that the ministerial declaration zero draft is yet to be circulated, and we are in a process of providing inputs to the ministerial declaration that will be further negotiated and into the Union Environment Assembly and also into high-level political forum. Those young people who are members to the Children and Youth Major Group are able to provide written inputs into the ministerial declaration that is now under the discussion, and I'll just share the link to Benson to circulate it. And another thing, the UNIA 7 theme is advancing sustainable solution for a resilient planet, and we have a deadline for submission of written inputs or submission of resolution. This is for member states, but now as Children and Youth, we are also planning to share in or to push for a youth-driven resolution, and member states, we have member states who are like-minded, who are willing to table the resolution on behalf of the youth. Now, how one can engage, a young person can engage into the process is through providing inputs for the resolution, and we'll be negotiating for youth-supported inputs or text and language into this resolution. Now, for the engagement into the seventh UN Environment Assembly, we will have the Global Youth Environment Assembly, which will happen in between the open-ended Committee of Permanent Representative, the negotiation process, and the main now UNEA, the UN Environment Assembly. And through the Global Youth Environment Assembly, we'll also be able to share inputs from different young people, which will now be again recommended into various discussion into UNEA. To participate, for last UNEA, we were able to sponsor around close to over 400 young people around the world were able to participate, and over 200 young people from Kenya from different backgrounds were able to participate. Some also participate on self-funded slots, and this year we're trying to make it even bigger and better for participation. And as per now, as you know, funding to participate in various environmental avenues has been slashed, but now we're also encouraging various organizations who are able to, bring young people into these avenues to reach out if they're able to sponsor, because we want even the number to be as bigger as possible. And apart from the funding that we have, if there are any other people can participate on their self-funded slot, it is welcomed. We are able to get badges for young people to participate into this forum. And I'll just share the link with Benson to circulate it. For the IP base, as per now, we are not directly involved with it, but we have, for those who are really interested into this topic, we're also able to link them to the IBES Secretariat and facilitate the engagement process. Thank you. Yeah, Benson, back to you.
For that, in fact, is for the hi, am I audible?
Yeah, you are. I am hearing you very clearly.
Oh,
I
Benson,
think
you're breaking a lot.
Yeah, we are back. And also the Ramsar Convention, which will be in Zimbabwe. So there are a number of opportunities that are coming up that would interest youths who would be interested to take part in policy, or maybe even learn more about policy, policy drafting, and all of that, particularly in the UN space. So maybe Clive, if you have any other opportunities that is coming up, or maybe the calendar for the UNEP, maybe you can share it, and we can share it with the colleagues so that they can see the avenues that are there to learn and to also network in this space of policy advocacy. Colleagues, I don't see any other hand that has been raised, so I'm still requesting for you to. Oh yeah, I see Nightingale has her hand raised. Maybe my co-facilitator, if you can go through the chat box and see who else wants to say something, or maybe has posted a comment or a question, you can read it loud for us. Thank you. Nightingale, feel free to come in.
Yes, so thank you very much to the presenters. Really, great conversations happening, and really thankful to have youth-centered, because really we cannot go very far without the youth, without the children, and so we have no choice than to center them. So I think, Dr. Masago, I have been thinking quite a bit about the land subdivision or the land divisions and the effects that this has had and continues to have on both the health of people, animals, environment, because previously, especially in the pastoralist lands, there was, what do we call it? There was kind of like symbiotic living or symbiotic existence, coexistence. And now with the subdivision, there's still a lot of conflict. It was quite interesting, I have to say, when I heard you say that now pastoralists, especially maybe in the Ma communities, are allowed to go and graze in the parks. And so I did a little bit of searching online, and I saw that some of them are doing it at a fee. So this is all interesting information, but especially as someone who is working in this region and also from these communities, I am quite curious to hear from you, Dr. Masago, on what you see as a way forward with some of these issues, especially related to land subdivision, which also leads to land degradation. And because there is also continued encouragement for these communities to give up their lands, for them to be conserved by others other than themselves.
Thank you very much, Knight, and I really appreciate that observation. I am telling you, it is very true that the new dynamics are really unique, and they are really happening at a time like this. And it is like life is becoming one of the best teacher. People are really learning from the difficulties they are going through within their ecosystems. For example, before some time back, the land was not demarcated, but now it is demarcated and title deeds are produced. Everyone is living in his or her own piece of land. And there are challenges for that. And because of the challenges are really enormous for individual farming, because everyone is living his or her own piece of land. A lot of degradation is taking place because it is like everyone is now also grazing on his or her own piece of land. But there is also some advantages of the same. We can't just overlook them, because there are some advantages. For example, for those people who want to do tree planting, they can do, because the land belongs to them. But again, if in general terms, if you try to see the overview of the Maasai land, it is like all of them they all embrace communal land. And that is the reason why they are now coming up with the new community conservancies. They do this because they will get some income out of it. And again, the conservancies also become very rich grounds for the livestock feeds, that is grass and vegetation. So it is like there is a more gain in coming up in establishing these conservancies. But the challenge now is most of these conservancies doesn't also belong. The people who are running them are not the community, are not coming from the community. Though the first opportunities in terms of jobs or maybe business opportunities, they are given to them. But again, you see, they can't also benefit much because most of them have not gone to school. They have just gone to they have just reached a certain level, and because of the land is like 70% or 80% of the land is just next to the tourism sector or the tourism regions. So because of that, they are attracted to quick opportunities that makes them to come to leave school. So I can say in just a nutshell that it is true there is something that is changing the whole thing, because for example, if you have a piece of land, this piece of land you want to convert it into a conservancy. What does that mean? It means many of the people had to move and live with others, because so that for them to forfeit the other pieces of land. So because of that again increases some unity within themselves. That is the reason why I was saying in the beginning that the youth are now becoming more innovative in matters to do with conservation. They are now innovative in matters to do with socio-economic development. They are thinking that what they have, their environment is their immediate bank, their immediate resource. So they are now coming up with new strategies to make it survive even during hard times. They are coming up with what we call cultural manyatas as a way of them at least getting some money from the same. Then they make some groups. Then their songs and dance that they entertain the tourists with has also a lot of information that encourages the community to embrace on conservation. So I think, Knight, it is true that we are still having a milestone to go, because what we need now, more especially on the ground, is how best we can make them benefit more than even what they are now getting from. Yeah, because if we can come up with ways of maybe making them go to school while the other activities are just running, I think that will become another great achievement for their future development, and even to propel community development on the grassroots. So thank you for that observation, and I hope we are going to have in the future, we are going to have a lot of areas to think on how best we can improve where we think improvement is needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Daktari. Colleagues, I see we are actually running out of time, but because of the the long wait that we had before we officially started the meeting, that is why I gave us the grace period for these extended 30 minutes. So I just want to check in again and see whether there is anyone with something to say, a comment, a question, or maybe something that you want to contribute. And if you're not comfortable unmuting and speaking, you feel free to send a message on the chat box. James, please feel free to come in.
Yeah, thank you so much, Matinde, and thank you everyone for joining. Mine is just to touch on the aspect of peace. When you look at One Health and planetary health, peace is also an aspect that we really need to look that much, because when you see our health, as human beings and plants and environment, we are connected. And if we miss that, then the balance between that, it will cause a lot of imbalance in our life. So we need to look at the aspect of peace as not as absence of violence only, but the way we live with the plants, the way we live with the animals, the way we live with the environment. Because when we destroy it, it will cause a lot of global imbalance. And that's why we see scarce of resources. And because of that, people try to look on other people's property and envy. And that is lack of inner peace. It's not necessarily meaning there is no violence in the area, but when you don't have that inner peace. And something I noticed as we discuss on triple planetary crisis, and Sandra has mentioned on the eco anxiety, where the fear of the climate, the pollution, the climate change, and also biodiversity loss, people tend to have there's no harmony. And that is something that we really need to discuss as people who look at One Health and planetary health, because without peace, we cannot achieve the harmony with animals, with plants, and with our environment. And we need to look at the animals as we are connected. I have associated and interacted with animals, and animals are so connected to human beings to the extent where they know their owner, they know even the wild animals. The conflict between the wild animals and human beings cannot occur if the environment has that harmony. And that's why I emphasize on that. I don't need to talk much because of time. So I will stop on that, and maybe later on we can look that as a topic and discuss more. So thank you, and may God bless you all.
Thank you, James. Sandra, do you have something to say? I know you had sent me something on the chat box, but I didn't see it until now. So if you want to come in and clarify on your question, please feel free to come in.
If you hear, now my connection is better. No.
Okay, thank you.
You don't hear me.
Okay, thank you. So colleagues, now I see time is really not on our side, and I want to head towards the conclusion of this very amazing webinar. But before that, I want to welcome the Executive Director of ACOFI, who is Dr. Nathan. So Dr. Nathan, if you're here with us, please come to the floor and share more about what we are planning in August in Masai Mara. So Dr. Nathan, if you're with us.
Thank you, Matindi, and thank you, everyone. I'll try to speak for 2 minutes or less. So the idea behind today's gathering, which falls in a series for our coffee initiative, that on the first Friday of every month we aspire to open up a space like this where we can have inspiring, impactful, important conversations that are intergenerational in nature. So just want to appreciate the youth voice today, and also invite anyone specifically representing youth or any other category to also think about intergenerational opportunities where we can tap into somehow the deepest parts of our existence, which transcend time, and really recognize that time is fluid and time goes quickly, as anyone who has exited the youth category can probably attest to. And so just want to invite us all to see that this is a seed that we can all have planted inside of us to really have the commitment to try and be connected, to try and actively cultivate hope, health, and healing. And so just to mention a few upcoming opportunities, looking at the calendar. So the first one is in 2 weeks from today, and it's Mother Language Day. And this is on the 21st of February. We have active plans in place to do both on the ground and virtual activities, so we can say more to come about that. Then I want to talk about a quarterly time frame where we're looking at a calendar for intergenerational climate action, with 4 dates in particular, starting with the 21st of February, to highlight the importance of speaking language and language preservation and revitalization. So almost 3 months exactly after that is World Biodiversity Day, and this is the 22nd of May. So again, we'll plan to have activities both in person and virtual. Then we look at almost 3 months from that, we have an interesting connection that's 3 days apart. So we have August 9th, which is World Day of Indigenous People. 3 days later, on August 12th, is International Youth Day. And so an invitation to anyone who is not yet part of the Closa Kofi network or team is to join with us so that we can work together, so that in the second half of the year, August and October and November have really interesting alignments of dates. So the first one is that International Youth Day on the 12th. Then we have the second Thursday of October is Children's Environmental Health Day. And then on the 20th of November is World Children's Day, where that falls during the COP30 dates for Brazil. And so similar to last year when we did an on-the-ground activity in COP29 that Sherry was very much actively a part of, that we're planning for similar initiatives this year. And this is something which is using language, focusing on children. The Swahili way to phrase this is tunandoto na watoto. So that is, we have a dream about children. And that dream is that we can truly honor children and the child inside all of us by working together to restore a healthy and balanced planet where we as people are living in harmony and balance with our one shared home and all of the life forms together with us. So we invite you all to remain connected. That's again the idea, is to have that seed be planted. Hopefully you have contact information for anyone who you are connecting with us for the first time, but kofi@gmail.com is an easy way to connect with us. Otherwise, we have the form, Google form, feedback form that has been posted, and also social media links. So again, thank you to Clive, thank you to Jackson. We're looking forward to connecting with the Asasir team in the near future to see specific ways that we can work together. And thank you all for the opportunity to connect today. Asanteni sana.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nathan.
Thank you, Dr. Nathan, for keeping it short And now, colleagues, I want to head towards concluding the meeting. But before I do, I really want to pass my very special gratitude to all of you for creating time and for joining the meeting. And looking forward to more interactions with you, more avenues to learn and to interact and to share opportunities. So, we having said that, I want to officially close the meeting, not unless there is anyone with something pressing that they want to share with us before we close. Okay, I see there is no one going. 1, 2, and sold. So, colleagues, thank you for joining, and see you all next time. Thank you.
And bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.